All right, welcome to Ducks and Pucks. This is your host, Mike Walters, along with my co-host, Eddie Jones. We're doing a little special edition, two-parter. First part, game preview of the game tonight. Obviously, the retirement ceremony with Teemu. We'll cover the last couple games also in this segment. And then we'll have a second one with, the aftermath, basically, everything that happened at the game tonight. And we'll go over all that, and that'll be published a couple days from now. But let's just start with the last couple games here, Eddie. The Ducks look good. They beat Nashville in a close one in a shootout, and then they lost obviously to the Rangers due to too many turnovers. But the Ducks are still doing okay. They
Yeah, we kind
did
of
fine in that Nashville
said that
game.
they're going to probably only pick up one win from these two games, and I thought it would most likely come against the Rangers, even though they were playing so well. But you look at the one goal win against Nashville. Now they're the top team in the Western Conference in the league, and you look at the Ducks' position around the other four teams in the top, and the goal differential is obviously their main problem right now, and we saw that in the games that they win are usually by one goal, and then you go to you play against the Rangers and lose 4-1, so that that's obviously a problem that they're gonna have to work on. But I think the Nashville game was a pretty strong game. We might have got a little bit lucky that Rene didn't start, kind of squeaking out with a win.
Yeah, Francois came up big. I had sent out a message right before actually he scored, saying, we need to tie this game up with some other colorful language. But we ended up tying it up with that late goal by Francois, and he's been on a roll, getting some goals and points, and his defensive game is always there, Eddie. But his offensive game is picked up, which is a
Yeah, and
definite plus for the
he'll
Ducks.
score 5 to 10 goals on a good season, and obviously scored in back-to-back games so far, and picked up his first not too long ago either. So if Lindholm and Vatanen haven't been scoring lately, somebody else has to pick it up on defense, and rarely is it Francois, but it's always nice to see him get on the score sheet a couple times this season.
Yeah, and like you said, the Ducks we like these one goal games for some reason, but we win those. But then shifting over to the Ranger game, the Ducks Brzgalov was in net. He did better than I expected. I was kind of unsure how he was going to do. The first goal was really a bad goal on his part. But the Ducks kind of let him down. The next two were turnovers. Just feet
Yeah,
away from the net,
this is
Eddie.
probably his last chance too. We talked about the next game he gets. It's probably going to be his last chance. I was kind of surprised to see him starting this game. To be honest, I thought he might start one of the games coming up against New Jersey, but I think this is pretty much it for Brits after this game. Even with the turnovers, you gotta have confidence in your goalie, and obviously they didn't have a lot of confidence that game, giving the puck over in the defensive zone, and it in the few times they actually did in front of the net, it obviously came back to hurt them. But yeah, with Briz, it was an experiment that didn't that didn't really work out. So I'm sure if LeBron comes back or when Gibson gets back, Briz is pretty much gonna have to look for another team.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be like you said, interesting. He may play one more time in that back-to-back situation, but I mean, if he does, that to me, that's probably going to be if this game wasn't his last game, then that game will be his
Yeah,
last
and
game. Don't you think, Eddie?
even if he comes out and pulls off a shutout, I think right now they'd almost rather play LeBron because at least he's played pretty decent the games that he's come in, and obviously Gibson is the ideal backup right now. Whenever he's got to at least be close to making his way back right now. So yeah, if Briz gets another start, that's pretty much going to be his last. If not this game that just went past.
And we were going to have Danny on today, but some things came up. Those of you that remember from the before the season started, we had her on there. She lives by the Norfolk Admirals. She follows the Ducks and the Rangers. And how impressed are you by the Rangers, Eddie? I mean, they entered this game having won 9 of their last 10. Now, as we record now, they beat the Ducks, the Kings, and the Sharks. So now, they're 12 of their last
Yeah, and they've
13. I
won
mean, they're
five
really
in a
on a
row,
roll.
and I was worried about that when we were going into it. And the only thing I said that might be the saving grace is that they were pretty bad on the road with like a barely, like almost just a little above 500 record on the road, and now their road record after those 3 wins and winning 5 in a row is looking pretty good too. They're kind of showing why they surprised everybody and went to the Stanley Cup final last year against the Kings. And usually that California trip is a struggle for most teams, but the Rangers kind of just blew through all 3 of them and came out with 3 wins. And with the 2 wins before that, they've got 5 in a row now. And as you said, 12 in the last 13. They're pretty much on a roll. So and it's vaulted them, up the standings, and they have a chance to move into, I think second or first in the Eastern Conference above the Penguins, and Montreal has been consistent all season.
Yeah, Eddie, I think New York could definitely make a push for the playoffs this year. I mean, obviously they did last year, and they barely made the playoffs and they rolled. But I mean, if they keep this kind of pace up, I mean they're on a pace right now that they could at least, if they stay healthy and they stay this way, they could at
Yeah, and I
least go
think
to
a
the
big
Eastern
part of
Conference
their
Finals.
success has obviously been Lundqvist has been a lot better than the beginning of the season, and so is their defense, and grabbing a lot of guys back from injury, and Stepan Brassard, who got injured in the beginning of the season, and Rick Nash actually, scoring goals. That's the reason they ended up buying him, and he's been pretty much non-existent until this season. So, a lot of things are clicking for them, and obviously Marty's having a good season too. So they've got everything going for them right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if they made another push for the finals, or at least deep in the playoffs.
Yeah, you mentioned Rick Nash. I'll be curious too to get Danny on here and talk about that because like you said, Nash wasn't doing as much. The fans are getting kind of restless with him, and now here he comes out and he's leading the team this season, and he's been on fire. So I mean, and he's definitely along him and Martin St. Louis have been just really
Yeah,
rolling for
and,
them
and
on the
really
offense,
that's
Eddie.
why they gave up so much to get him when they got him from Columbus. And they've been waiting for it for a while, but they've stuck with it, and obviously now this season they've reaped the rewards of bringing them in. When you give up a guy like Gabrick and a couple of young pieces that they gave up to like John Moore, I think I can't really exactly remember everything they gave up a couple of years ago, but they gave up a significant amount to get Rick Nash, and obviously now it's paying off.
Yeah, definitely, and they're gonna be a force down the stretch in the Eastern Conference for sure, coming close to playoff time. Let's shift some gears here, and let's get to the Tamu night. Basically, there's a lot going on right now. Some of my friends are already down there at Honda Center. I guess there's a line already to go to the parking. There's a line for the team store. There's a tent set up outside too. It's raining pretty good, not crazy, but decent here, Eddie. And anybody that's listening now, I urge you to get down there soon. I'm actually heading down there as well with my family early because it's going to be crazy. The Honda Center doors open at 3 p.m. and they're urging all the fans to be in their seats at 4:15. So I would get there early. It's going to be a sellout. It's going to be more than the 17,174. There's going to be standing room only, special guests and all that. And there's some pregame things going on that I've been told. I can't reveal them, unfortunately, but it's going to be special, Eddie. There's going to be a lot of
Yeah,
Kleenex
and
needed for
I
this
think
one.
everybody's had this one marked since the beginning of the season, and it's probably going to be really crazy down there, and especially if everybody's getting in there at 4:15 your time. That's at least a couple hours, 2 hours before the game. So there's going to be a lot of things going pregame. Obviously, you have an idea what's going to be going on, and I'm sure I'm going to be watching the game on TV if I can, and hopefully catch a little bit of the ceremony. If not, I'll catch it later on the computer.
Yeah, and for those of you, I mentioned this on Twitter and Facebook too. For those of you that, for some reason, you have to work today, I understand that you can't make it. I get it. Or you're in another country somewhere. We're gonna have it. I have it DVR'd. and I will have it on the YouTube channel. Depending on what time I get home tonight, I don't know if I'll have it up tonight, but if I don't, I'm going to get it up on there tomorrow. So those of you that missed the pregame for whatever reason, I mean, I understand we all have things going on. That's going to be on there. And Eddie, this game's going to be kind of interesting because as some of the players talked about, their pregame rituals are going to be off. The game was supposed to be at 5 o'clock. They put it at 6 o'clock, which you and I know it's probably not going to start at 6 o'clock. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on beforehand. How difficult do you think that is for the Ducks the team as players to do, this 2 hour, pregame ceremony, the emotions, all that stuff. And then they've got to shift gears and then play a game, against the Jets that, obviously the Jets are going to have some emotion too.
Yeah,
Because
but
that's
yeah,
what team they
it's
started.
obviously going to be more difficult for the Ducks than a lot of them, playing with Teemu and winning the cup with him, and just recently him like playing last year with the team. So there's obviously was some animosity when he left too, and it's going to be a pretty emotional night for them. But I think they'll be okay with it. They've gone through stuff like this before, and there's been other players have been retired, and cup ceremonies and everything where they've came out and played well. And but yeah, I agree with you with probably not starting at 6 o'clock thing, because I remember watching the game. I think it was last year, earlier this year, where Mike Gradaino's number was raised to the Raptors in Dallas, and then the game ended up starting like an hour after it was supposed to. So yeah, usually these things I can get out of hand and take a little bit of time. So like you said, get there early and stay in your seat, because you never know when the game's gonna start.
Yeah, and we saw that earlier this season when the Ducks went to Montreal and they had the celebration for Saku Koivu. I mean, that one went on as well. I can't even remember how long his standing ovation was, but that game started at least half an hour after. So I'm thinking today's going to be a long day for my
Yeah, for
family and I and
sure.
everybody else,
But
Eddie.
yeah, and the Saku Koivu one wasn't even a number raising. It was just kind of an honoring Saku for what he's done for the team, and for Montreal and for Anaheim. And but this is the greatest player in Ducks history, and they're retiring the number. So this could actually go on for a pretty long time.
Yeah, and the other thing too that I'm sure everybody's aware is this is the first Ducks player to ever be retired in history, and there's a lot of speculation, and we talked about this too on the podcast that we think Ziggy's going to be next. So I'm hoping he's going to be next. He certainly deserves it, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be something special. It's the first one, and hopefully Ziggy follows it up.
Yeah,
Next
I think we
season,
talked
Eddie.
about this earlier in an earlier podcast, and who we think would be next. I believe we talked with Phil about it too when he was on. I asked if if Jiggy should be next, or Paul Korea should be next, and we only really came up with three possible names, and it was Niedermeyer, even though his number's been retired in New Jersey, so he'd pretty much just be honored. And then Jiggy, obviously, and Korea would be the two most likely candidates. And with how Korea left, we kind of figured out that Jiggy would probably be the most likely. And with Selanne breaking it in, Jiggy might be as early as next season, but I think they'd probably wait a little bit after. But look forward to maybe 2 or 3 seasons down the road.
Yeah, definitely. And a surprise too, Eddie, is I was looking, around getting information as much as I could about the pregame, the stuff that I can reveal. And I guess from what I've seen, I guess Korea's not going to be there. I was surprised. I thought he was, but he wasn't. Unless he's making a special appearance, as far as I know,
Yeah, I
he's
mean,
not
he
going to
might
be there
like
tonight.
he's not going to be there at all in the stands or anything, or just not going to be present, on camera or on the ice or anything.
Yeah, I don't know because originally I heard that he may be there, and then the last couple of reports I heard that he wasn't going to be in the building. But I'm kind of I'm kind of surprised. I still think he would be there. Maybe if not as part of the main event, I would think he would still be in the suite somewhere or something because he was there when we played Colorado last year for the season finale. So I would think he would still be there, but the word on the street around
Yeah,
here is
and
that he's
maybe
not
he's
at the current moment.
busy. I have no idea what's going on with him in his life. But it's the way he left, and with a lot of fans, they might take it the wrong way seeing him there. But I'm sure he wouldn't miss the ceremony unless it was something important. Obviously, him and Teemu are still really good friends after playing together in Anaheim and Colorado. So if he's not there, there's obviously a good reason for it, and obviously he wishes Teemu the best. I'm sure there's not much to it.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with you, Eddie. Also, we've got an article that I've had up on the blog for a while about your favorite Teemu moment. So make sure you go on there and vote for your favorite moment. One of the moments that for me personally, my wife and I, we met Teemu at a DucksNPucks event back in 2010. So that would be my one of my favorite moments. Obviously, almost everybody's favorite moment is him winning the Stanley Cup with the team and raising the cup. But meeting him in person was one of my favorite moments, and I'll be posting that photo today too. I was going through since I finally got a new phone. I actually have room now to have more photos on my phone, but I'm going to be posting that a little bit earlier sometime today so people can see it. But that was my favorite personal moment that I had with Teemu. And then my favorite moment besides, obviously the cup would be that game winner against Detroit in overtime that, eventually led to the Ducks winning and beating Detroit. And then, obviously going on, and everybody knows the rest of the story. I'm there, Eddie. What would be your favorite moment for Teemu, as far as whether it's the same one or something else?
Yeah, it's
during his
harder to
career.
look back with a lot of the days I remember of watching hockey. Teemu was in Colorado and San Jose, but I'd have to say it's probably last year. Just finally being able to go down and actually see him play. In his last season before he retired, being able to see him at the Honda Center. One last time before he ended up retiring. So I was glad to actually get to see him on the ice instead of behind the bench or anything like that. And obviously watching him play with Korea, who was my favorite player growing up, and be able to watch them, do what they did and be one of the most effective duos to ever team up in the NHL. Just being able to watch both of them play together was pretty awesome too.
Yeah, definitely, Eddie. I mean, him and Korea, were basically the dynamic duel. They used to call him all the time. Playing on then the Mighty Ducks, and then obviously Teemu had his little hiatus when he went to Colorado and San Jose, which we won't talk about that. No, just kidding. But he went to those teams for a little bit and then came back, and you know, um, it's going to be a special night. I just don't really have any other words to describe what's going to happen. I'm going to take a lot of photos and send out what I can. I got my phone charged up for sure for tonight. And I'm glad I have a newer phone, so it'll make it through the whole game, hopefully, unlike my old one that was dying. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And, what kind of impact do you think for Teemu on the sport? Obviously, a lot of people look at Wayne Gretzky and they look at how the NHL now has the Sharks, the Ducks, the Avalanche. But I look at Teemu and I look at
Mm-hmm.
him more international. Eddie, because just like they were talking about that hockey academy, we mentioned it before that they're doing in Finland. I think not to really compare him to Gretzky, but I think that he's going to be a big success internationally
Yeah,
as far
and
as growing the
obviously,
sport of hockey.
in Finland, he pretty much is Gretzky and a lot of people's favorite player growing up, and he's still a lot of people's favorite player. So his impact in Finland isn't seen as much here as Gretzky's, especially in Canada and what he's done for hockey in California. But Selanne's done a lot to bring in a lot of Finnish players, and instead of them playing in the Finnish elite league, bring them over to the NHL for the draft at a young age. And a lot of people follow in hockey from Finland, and even in any countries around Finland. Internationally, Selanne is obviously one of the greatest players to ever play the game, and he's inspired a lot of people to come over to the NHL from the European leagues.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the impact I see. Obviously we have one of our writers that's over there in Finland too, and he gives us some, inside info about Teemu and just how popular he is over there. And obviously his nickname, the Finnish Flash, says it all. Um, I guess this is kind of a good question to ask, but do you think there'll ever be anybody like Teemu again, either in the Ducks organization or the NHL? Someone that's of that Gretzky, Selanne, caliber,
Yeah, we're
anytime
seeing
soon, maybe,
the
or
last
no?
of them, of that generation of the greatest 10 to 15 players of that generation retire. Obviously, Yager is one of the last ones left, and how he's got maybe one more year in him too. So it's hard to say right now. It's hard to compare players across generations and compare what kind of impact they have on the game until years after their career. Maybe we'll see Crosby down the road or Stamkos or McDavid coming up or one of the younger guys, even Getzlaff or Perry, the impact they have when their careers are done. It's kind of hard to look at it now, but it's going to be obviously hard to have a player like Solani, whose impact on the ice was just as strong as his impact off the ice.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Eddie. I mean, he's just such a well-known figure, and I think more importantly too for a lot of people is he's known as being a class act too, which it's tough in the sports world now. We don't always see people like Teemu. I can't remember how many stories I've seen or articles I've read where he's outside a hotel room at 2 a.m. on a road trip signing autographs. I mean he's just always there. Whatever the fans want something, he does it. I mean, I don't think I've really ever heard a complaint about him ever. I mean, and that's rare in the
Yeah,
sports
and
world, especially today.
with the media now, you see a lot of things get out there, and it's harder for a lot of players to get out and be with the fans. And obviously, we heard Teemu last year say how much he loved the fans, and we've seen him stay outside Honda Center, and obviously, like you said, stay outside the hotel and sign autographs, and he pretty much did everything for the fans. And it's not surprising to see if you ask most Dutch fans or most people around the NHL that he's liked by pretty much everybody. So it's hard to keep that reputation, especially throughout a whole NHL career. But he's pretty much loved by everybody that you could ask.
Yeah, definitely, and that brings up one other, I guess, last point. We made up a T-shirt too to honor Teemu. The last game against Colorado, they played the Foo Fighters song "Hero." We made up a shirt that says "There goes my hero" with the 8 as the E in hero. So check that out. It's on dnphockey.bigcartel.com. It's only $15.99. It's a much better deal than the $35 to $50 shirts at the team store right now. So check it out. We've got double X all the way down to small and the sizes there. And Eddie and I will be back for another podcast later this week. We'll go over what happened at this game tonight, and then we will obviously talk about the next upcoming game. So thanks for joining us, and also check out the podcast on YouTube. We'll have up the video of the pregame ceremony as well. Thanks for listening, and see you in a couple days.
The Anaheim Ducks are the Stanley Cup champions.